With low WrestleMania ticket sales, the WWE is scrambling in an effort to boost those ticket sales ahead of WrestleMania 42. And today, I'm going to look at which championships are at risk of being changed before WrestleMania in order to boost ticket sales. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Ringside Cinema. I am Money Mike, and yeah, if you missed my video yesterday, I'll leave a link up here. I did talk about the WrestleMania 42 ticket sales being down from last year, and now it's been reported that WWE is holding meetings to discuss ways to boost the ticket sales ahead of WrestleMania. And of course, obviously, one of the ways to do that is to have a shock title change. So here we are before the Elimination Chamber. What championships and which title holders are at risk of potentially losing their championships in order to boost ticket sales? Because right now, fans are not really buying the tickets. I don't know, maybe lower the ticket prices. I can't imagine that meeting where it's like Triple H, Nick Khan, TKO sitting there going, "What do we do to boost ticket sales?" And everyone just goes, anything but lower the ticket prices. That's pretty much what I'm imagining. So let's look at each roster, Raw and SmackDown, to see where the potential title changes could come from on the road to WrestleMania. Now, if you haven't done so already, go ahead, hit that like and subscribe button, as I do produce weekly wrestling content here on this channel, and I will be live streaming the Elimination Chamber at the end of the month. So we're going to find out all the pieces of the puzzle for the road to WrestleMania together. So speaking of Elimination Chamber, let's start off on Monday Night Raw. The World Heavyweight Champion, CM Punk, Roman Reigns. Well, I think that's set in stone. I don't think the WWE wants to get away from that. But Finn Balor, CM Punk, do have a world title match at the Elimination Chamber. And no, Finn Balor is not going to win. Not this close to WrestleMania. You know, it is kind of interesting because I do think Finn Balor would actually be a perfect post WrestleMania opponent for CM Punk, because I don't know if Roman Reigns needs the title, because I think we know Roman Reigns is going to go on vacation afterwards. So do we need another part-time champion, right? So I think it'd be perfect for Punk and Balor to have their feud after Mania, but I do think they're going to go somewhere else with Finn Balor at WrestleMania with another championship that we'll talk about here in a minute. But yeah, I don't think they're going to get away from this. I think CM Punk 100% walking into WrestleMania as the World Heavyweight Champion against Roman Reigns. But let's move on to the Women's World Heavyweight Championship, which is a little bit more iffy. Obviously, we know Stephanie Baker is your Women's World Champion. She did defend the title against Raquel Rodriguez successfully. But we know Liv Morgan is the Women's World Champion, or the Royal Rumble winner. So, with the idea that Liv Morgan is going to pick Stephanie, the only thing, and I said this before, you know, Raquel Rodriguez, the only thing that I would have saw with them making a change here was if Raquel would have beat Stephanie for the world title, with then Liv Morgan, Raquel Rodriguez, add in Roxanne Perez there, and do the whole Judgment Day split. around the world title. Liv chooses Raquel. Yeah, you get the idea. The damage control storyline. But again, with the way things are with ticket sales, and you have a lot of main eventers in that women's tag team title scene, including your women's tag team champions Rhea Ripley, Io Sky, and yeah, no, I don't think nobody wants to see another Rhea Ripley Liv Morgan match, but it would be interesting if they took the title off of Stephanie, maybe moved it over to Rhea, Io ahead of Mania, to try to do anything to help boost ticket sales. Put the world title back on Rhea, back on Io. They're both very popular, and it's very possible. Now, how do you get around all that with Liv Morgan? Maybe you still have Raquel Rodriguez in there, make it a triple threat. But again, or even a fatal four way if you really want Rhea, Io, Liv, Raquel. But again, I feel like the only way this changes is if the WWE really hits the panic button and they give the women's world title to either Rhea Ripley or Io Sky, a bigger name, to try to boost sales and try to make a bigger match for WrestleMania on the women's side, on Raw. Now, sticking with the women's, the one championship that I do think is going to change, and it's just me saying it. Sports Illustrated is not saying it. This is just me saying it. But I believe Becky Lynch, I think, is in the most danger of losing her championship in order to shake up WrestleMania season. Because the WWE just announced AJ Lee, Becky Lynch for the Women's Intercontinental Championship at the Elimination Chamber. Remember, a lot of us pegged this match to be taking place at WrestleMania. And right now, with ticket sales being low, people are excited for the return of AJ Lee. They're in Chicago. I could see this being a John Cena Dominic Mysterio trade-off, where John Cena won in Boston, Dominic Mysterio won in San Diego. Obviously, Becky Lynch is from Ireland; she's not from Vegas, but you get the idea. You give AJ Lee a short run. That's the only reason I think you run this match at Elimination Chamber, is because number one, they're panicking over ticket sales. You need a big splash. AJ Lee, Becky Lynch. You move this match up from Mania to Elimination Chamber to try to help boost the interest in WrestleMania, and then also you run the rematch back at WrestleMania where AJ Lee can have a short run with the championship, a championship that was not around when she had her first run in WWE. So you give her a short run with the championship, especially if she is going to be a part timer. You give her a short run, very same way John Cena had a short run with the Intercontinental Championship. Becky wins it back. But I am kind of curious where Natty, Maxine are going to fit into all this. But yeah, I think out of all the champions in WWE, Becky Lynch is in the most danger because of the fact they put the Becky AJ Lee match at the Elimination Chamber instead of saving it for WrestleMania. And I think the ticket sales are probably why. Let's stick to the Intercontinental Championship, but to the men's side. Dominic Mysterio. Obviously, injuries have been playing a key role in this WrestleMania season. It's been kind of changing the WWE's plans left and right. I think we've gone so far off of what the original WrestleMania plans are. But I do think here I don't see Dominic losing this championship because I think they want to save it for WrestleMania. in order to finally pay off the Finn Balor, Dominic Mysterio, Judgment Day storyline. I do think it's very possible that we could see a Judgment Day implosion here at WrestleMania, where similar to SummerSlam a couple years ago, where it was a whole entire Judgment Day implosion, right? So I don't think Dom is going to lose a championship, especially if he is still injured. I don't think they're going to take the title off of him, but I do think he's going to play a role in Finn Balor not winning the World Heavyweight Championship from CM Punk at the Elimination Chamber, and that's going to set off probably Finn and Dom. Finn gets kicked out of the Judgment Day, and we're finally going to get to Dom versus Finn for the Intercontinental Championship a year later at WrestleMania. But hey, at least that's the bright side going back to Vegas, is that they can have good callbacks to what happened last year at WrestleMania in Las Vegas. And Dom pinned Finn Balor. Then you have the World Tag Team Champions, Jimmy and Jey Uso. I don't now look. I don't think this is going to be like, hey, let's change the World Tag Team titles because it's going to move ticket sales. No, but I do think it's interesting that Jey has a qualifying match for the Elimination Chamber. So it's one of those things to me where I could see them losing the tag titles. Maybe to the New Day is probably the only thing I can see ahead of WrestleMania, or the New Day maybe potentially facing the Usos at WrestleMania. So yeah, I don't think the Usos are in danger of losing the tag titles. I mean, they're they're just cutting promos now, which is sad because Jimmy and Jey are one of the greatest tag teams in WWE history, and there's a lot more they could be doing with them, and they're just not doing it. So can we just move some tag teams from SmackDown over to Raw, please? Motor City Machine Guns, Street Profits. Where the heck are the Street Profits at? You know, like they're doing NXT live events. Like I don't get it. They could be feuding with the Usos on Raw. Then, of course, we gotta talk about Rhea Ripley, Io Sky, your women's tag team champions. Now they are defending their tag titles on SmackDown tonight against the team of Nia Jax and Last Legend. Again, I don't see them dropping the titles anytime soon. I do think it's very possible they go into WrestleMania as tag team champions. If and hopefully, at least for me, that it's a women's TLC match, so that we can finally get a big grand finale of this women's tag team division before we start separating all the big stars from the tag division. But again, like I said about Stephanie, again, if the WWE's in panic mode, maybe you have Rhea Ripley win the women's world title, or maybe you move Rhea Ripley over to SmackDown. And she's, like I said, she will be on SmackDown tomorrow night. What about you do Rhea Ripley, Jade Cargill? If Bianca is not healthy, she's not going to make it back in time. Wouldn't it be interesting if Rhea Ripley beat Jade, Io Sky, won the Elimination Chamber? Now they two are facing off at WrestleMania for the Women's Championship? I mean, I could see that. I could see them doing something like that. So, again, I don't see them losing the tag titles anytime soon unless, again, the desperation for ticket sales causes them to move Rhea and Io off the tag title scene. Now, going to SmackDown, let's start with Jade Cargill since I just mentioned her. And again, Jade Cargill, they have not done a whole lot with her. Creatively, it's weird. She's just in neutral since she's won the title from Tiffany Stratton. And for me, I am just wondering if they're just waiting on news for Bianca, and they're trying to figure out if they can do the Bianca Jade feud for WrestleMania. But at some point, they gotta figure something out, whether Bianca's going to make it or she's not going to make it. And I could see a world, again, even if it's not Rhea Ripley or Io Sky, I could see something with maybe Charlotte Flair. We know Alexa Bliss, also on SmackDown tonight, is in a qualifying match for the Elimination Chamber. So what if a big match, and we've seen this before, go back to before WrestleMania 35, Charlotte Flair beat Asuka to win the SmackDown Women's Championship weeks before WrestleMania. Okay? So who's to say Charlotte Flair doesn't win or beats Jade Cargill, and then Alexa Bliss wins the Elimination Chamber, and it's similar situation between Rhea and Io. You know, the WWE panics at ticket sales. We need a big marquee match on the women's side of SmackDown. So you have Charlotte win the beat Jade, Alexa win the Chamber, and you just go ahead and just do the Alexa Charlotte heel turn, whoever's on turn between the two, probably Alexa, but you do the turn and you spice up the road to WrestleMania that way. I mean, again, like I said, you have so many women's main eventers in the tag team title scene that I could see the WWE panicking to get a few of them away from the tag title scene to boost the singles titles to try to boost ticket sales. And speaking of Alexa Bliss, the other challenger in her Elimination Chamber qualifying match is Julia. And again, same stipulation kind of applies here. I think Alexa Bliss wins the qualifying match. And if you have Alexa Bliss pin Julia, but she doesn't win the Elimination Chamber, Alexa Bliss could say that she's owed a U.S. title match. And maybe that's how you kickstart Alexa Charlotte for the U.S. title. You know, Alexa beats Julia on an episode of SmackDown. You know, Charlotte gets jealous. She turns on her Alexa, or Alexa turns on Charlotte, whatever. And then Alexa, Charlotte are feuding for the U.S. title. So, yeah. Julia, I think it's going to be interesting to think. I think your women's side on SmackDown is more in danger, but it just really depends on how desperate the WWE is in terms of wanting to move your bigger names from the tag title scene before WrestleMania. So yeah, I could see Julia losing the title if they want to pivot to Alexa versus Charlotte, or Jade losing the title to do Alexa and Charlotte for the world title. The MFTs are your SmackDown Tag Team Champions. Again, not really a whole lot here. I just hope they start doing more of these tag titles, because these tag titles on Raw and SmackDown are both going back to where they were, where they just weren't doing anything creatively with the tag division, despite having a talented tag division roster. So I don't see the MFTs losing the titles anytime soon, but a potential title change. And again, you gotta remember here, I'm just going over every champion on the main roster just because, just see kind of where the WWE can do, or what they can do to try to do anything to boost the hype for WrestleMania. Look at the big matches they can make. As I said, with Charlotte and Alexa, Rhea, Io, you could pivot them into a world title feud. But when I look at Carmelo Hayes, I think it's a chance he could lose it back. He could lose the United States Championship back to Ilya Dragunov. Now, I would like to see a ladder match between all the U.S. title open challenge contenders at WrestleMania. I know they planned to do a U.S. title ladder match last year. Like, I wouldn't mind that this year. All the open challenge contenders, yeah, do a U.S. title ladder match between all the guys who opened the U.S. Opened the U.S. title open challenge. I cannot talk, but that would be a fun match to do at WrestleMania. But yeah, you can't count out Carmelo Hayes losing the title to set something up for potentially something bigger at WrestleMania. Drew McIntyre is your WWE champion. I saved him for last because, well, I mean, I guess he's the loser champion now, according to Roman Reigns. He's the world champion that apparently we're not supposed to care about. I don't know. But what I do know is there is a big potential for Drew McIntyre to lose his championship before WrestleMania. And especially if the WWE is panicking with ticket sales, they might make a change in order to try something different. You know, we saw them already do that by when they switched the title from Cody to Drew in Berlin to try to shake up the road to WrestleMania. And I wouldn't surprise me if they did it again. You know, Cody Rhodes, Jacob Fatu, Sami Zayn, all three Elimination Chamber qualifying match. This is interesting because Cody, Jacob, one of them two has to lose. And it's not going to be an Elimination Chamber match, barring a last chance match or something. But again, it's one of those things where I could see Cody losing, and then maybe Jacob Fatu or Sami Zayn wins, and then Cody gets a match with Drew McIntyre on an episode of SmackDown. He wins the title, and then, oh, I don't know, the winner of the Elimination Chamber just happens to be Randy Orton. And that's how we get Cody versus Randy in the very same vein that, you know, Alexa, Charlotte, Rhea, Io. It's a matter of the WWE just wanting to try new things to see if they could boost ticket sales, because ticket sales are not where they were last year. And again, that's a link for that video. You can check that out. But yeah, Drew McIntyre, I am not completely confident he's going to enter WrestleMania as champion. I do think there's a strong chance that it could be Cody Rhodes, with the idea of Randy Orton winning the Chamber and setting up Randy versus Cody. And so, yeah. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Which champions do you think are in danger of losing their championship ahead of WrestleMania? And do you think any of the potential matches I listed could happen? Rhea versus Jade, Io wins the Chamber. Charlotte beats Jade, Alexa wins the Chamber. Cody beats Drew, Randy wins the Chamber. Let me know in the comments below. And as always, I've been your host, Money Mike, and you've been watching Ringside Cinema.